And good morning and welcome back into the Behrens Show. It's about 10:06 in the morning. I guess on the West Coast, you're a couple hours behind us, aren't you, Eddie?
Yes, we are.
So it's a bit earlier. However, I was, in fact, always under the impression that showbiz-type people live on the opposite end of the clock and probably aren't really awake at this time of the day. That's probably not the same for producers, though, is it?
Well, actually, we do get a pretty early start. People don't realize it, but when you're shooting a movie, the calls are usually for about 7 o'clock, quarter to 7. And particularly if you're on location, we get started most of the time about 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I guess when I'm talking about showbiz people, I'm talking about people who are in nightclubs, and those people, of course, live on the opposite end of the clock because they're working when other people are off.
Yeah, their work is a night work. So by the time they finish working, we're almost ready to get up.
At any rate, the reason we're talking with you, and it doesn't happen all that often that we get a chance to talk with a producer or a co-producer, you're one of the co-producers of a new show that's going to open up at the Eastland Cinemas in Bloomington this coming Friday, in fact tomorrow. It's called Foul Play. I didn't see this show, but one of our announcers happened to be at the theater last weekend and saw it in a sneak preview. And let me just ask you this right off the bat, because it deals with an assassination attempt, if I'm not mistaken, on the Pope. Is that right?
That's part of the plot, yes. It's dwelled upon in the sense that that's what takes us to the climax of the movie. But it's not a major thing.
The only thing I'm talking about, you talk about timing sometimes. The Pope has just passed on, and it's one of those ironic things, I guess. We're planning a trip to Great America, which is an amusement park in the northern part of the state. And we've been working on this for months. And, of course, just a couple of weeks ago, they had this tragic accident down at Six Flags over Mid-America, which kind of puts a dampen effect on amusement parks at the moment. I just hope it doesn't have a negative effect, with the whole idea of an assassination plot against the Pope for the movie. And I guess it doesn't, because as you...
I really don't think so, Ken, because that's not what the movie's about.
Had the Pope been assassinated, maybe maybe that would have been a little different.
Maybe, but truly the movie's not about the assassination of the Pope. So.
Let me see, Eddie. Goldie Hawn is in the show, and so is Chevy Chase, right?
Right. Goldie Hawn and Chevy Chase star, along with Burgess Meredith and Dudley Moore.
There's a big article on Goldie Hawn in Us magazine this week, and points out that she is just super happy. She's really had some turmoil in her life. And I guess one of the reasons, of course, is a new husband, but also the fact that she's worked on your film.
Well, Goldie has grown up. First of all, she was wonderful to work with. I've always felt that Goldie's a wonderful actress, and she certainly proved it to us, because I think this is probably her best performance, right along with Sugarland Express. She won an Oscar for Cactus Flower, but this ranks right up there. I think that Goldie, as you say in that article, seems very happy, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that she is fulfilled in her personal life with her marriage to Bill. She has a young son now, 2 years old, who she loves just tremendously, brought him around a lot, and he's just a delightful little boy, and that's helped her life a lot. She's stayed out of movies for about almost 3 years while she was getting this all together and having the baby, which took her some time. And now that she's done all that, she's ready to act again, and it's a little different Goldie. She's really matured and certainly is the actress she's always been, but has a better head on her shoulders.
They say it's a strange transition for a television star to make it on screen. And in this case, you're taking a fellow that's been on Saturday Night Live, and also Goldie Hawn, who was on Laugh-In, of course, and put him in the movies. Do you sort of go against the grain when it comes to producing movies? I mean, you're a relatively young man yourself. Is it something that's changing in Hollywood?
You mean as far as television people getting into movies? It's not always an easy shot. If a star, for instance, does have an opportunity, because if a person reaches stardom in television, then of course an opportunity can come to them, because that's what you want. You want people to gain attention. When you put somebody in a movie, certainly if they can handle the job, you want it to have a certain top spin to it so that people will come out to the theater. So that if a person has reached stardom in television, you can feel that perhaps they can draw them in the theater also. In our case, Goldie, certainly had already reached stardom in films. She was already there. Chevy, of course, had not. And we thought that Chevy had all of the makings to make it, and felt that it wasn't, some people say to me, well, my God, didn't you take a big shot in going with Chevy Chase? And we don't think so at all. We think we were very lucky to get him, because here's a chance for Chevy Chase and for people to see Chevy Chase play a character role. He plays a detective lieutenant, and he does it very well. He doesn't do the usual Chevy Chase skits, but does a wonderful job in the role, plays along with Goldie, has a great two-shot. The two of them together are a wonderful couple, and I think very satisfying to audiences.
Eddie, I know you don't have a whole lot of time to spend with us, but I sure appreciate you calling. I want to get into the business of, what the movie's about. I understand it's a bit of a thriller and that kind of thing. I have to break for a commercial or so, and let me remind the folks again that we're talking with Eddie Milkis, a co-producer of Foul Play, which opens in town this weekend. He's also produced Silver Streak, maybe you saw that film, and he also produces Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley on television. If you have a question or something, I think we can probably handle a phone call or two this morning, Eddie, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
We'll invite you to call in. You have a question about any of those shows, in fact, give us a call at 829-2345. Quality usually means cost. You get what you pay for. Well, quality comes reasonably at Falk Furniture. Choose your furniture from Falk's wide array of styles. Colonial, modern, traditional, whatever. Falk carries the finest names, too, like Burlington House, Provincetown, Bassett, and more. Plus, Falk will deliver your selection free. Drive a little and save a lot at Falk Furniture, home of reasonably priced, quality furniture. It's in El Paso, of course.
We're talking with Bob Johnson's executive chef, Ron DeRoos. Ron, exactly what is a banquet?
I would say a banquet is a sumptuous meal given to guests, often to honor a person or persons, a family birthday, gathering, or other special occasions.
Well, what about the food, Ron?
The choice of food should be limited, but good and delicious in taste and professionally prepared and served.
Thanks, Ron. For the finest in banquet food and facilities, contact Bob Johnson's Restaurant and Catering Service.
Go ahead. You're on the air with Eddie Milkis. Do you have a question?
Yes. Was Laverne and Shirley and Happy Days ever thought out to be one full movie, like? Because they both, every once in a while, Fonzie will be on both shows and that.
Ken, I couldn't quite hear the last part of it.
Okay, the caller's asking, Eddie, if Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley I'll have more than just a coincidental linkage together. I guess Laverne and Shirley actually was a spin-off, wasn't it?
Well, it was in a sense. Basically what happened, we had an episode of Happy Days where Fonzie was going to fix Richie up with girls he knew. And in a sense, as far as Richie was concerned, there were girls from across the tracks. And the thought came up, why not have Penny Marshall, who's a wonderful comedian, and Cindy Williams, also a terrific comedian and actress, do the roles. There were personal relationships between them and crew and cast members, and they said yes, they would like to do it. And they did do the episode, and suddenly out of that, was never the thought initially, but out of that came suddenly the recognition that maybe there's a show there, and overnight came Laverne and Shirley.
Did we answer your question? I hope we did.
Yes, I have one more.
Okay.
Was it true that Richie Cunningham, was he supposed to be the star on the Happy Days? Well, like Fonzie is now, was Richie supposed to be?
You're asking if Richie Cunningham's the star as opposed to Fonzie? Because Fonzie now, in a sense, is?
Yes.
Yeah. Initially, when the show began, and this happens very often in television shows, if you watch evolution of television series, you'll see that it begins focused on a given character and sometimes veers to another one that the audiences seem to relate to more. And that, in a sense, happened here. Initially, the emphasis was on the Cunningham family and the relationship between Richie and Potsy growing up. As the show evolved, it continued on the Cunningham family, but quite a bit more actually, towards the relationship between Richie and Fonzie as Richie was growing up.
Thank you for your call. All right. 829-2345 is our number. Boy, Happy Days is an enjoyable show. Somebody was trying to compare the two. I guess Happy Days is the Waltons set in 1950, huh? Not quite, though.
No, but what we wanted to do when we started Happy Days was try to bring to television a family that people wanted to see and have a little fun with it. The kind of family that you could look at and say, boy, our family would be great if we'd all sit around the dinner table and have dinner every night, which the United States society got out of doing for a while, but I think we're getting back to it now.
I hope so. Well, I tell you, you look at the shows that we just mentioned, Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, and Silver Streak, and now Foul Play. They all sound like winners to me, Eddie. You've been a producer long enough to know that they're not all winners. Have you ever had any turkeys, as it were?
We were very concerned that people would do numbers on the title Foul Play, but fortunately they haven't, because it's been very well accepted. So we don't have a turkey there. But yeah, we've had some things that haven't been great winners, and things that we've also believed in. We had my partner Tom Miller and I developed and produced a show several years ago called Petrocelli for NBC. And although it went 2 years, which in the television world is certainly not considered a turkey, and it's not a show we were ashamed of, it certainly wasn't a huge success.
I've just heard so much criticism leveled at the Nielsen ratings in particular, saying, by golly, we had a show on it, had this many audience members, and still they took it off because it just wasn't number one. It's a tough business, isn't it?
Yes. And the Nielsen, that certainly is always the war, Ken. You're always stuck with the shot of having to get the numbers, and then you're criticized by the critics for doing the show to entertain people, which will bring the numbers. So you can't win that.
Yeah.
It's tough to win it anyway.
Eddie, I want to talk to you just a little bit more about Silver Streak. I know we're running out of time here. It's a show that, as I understand it, it's a bit of an eerie type thing. It's sort of a mystery type comedy, isn't it?
Foul Play is a comedy thriller. Along with the comedy thriller, there's some adventure and a nice bit of romance between Chevy and Goldie. I think that an audience will get a lot of good laughs from it, because there's some pretty bizarre comedy in it. But we'll also get some shocks. There's some true thriller shocks in it.
Ah, that's a good touch.
What?
That's a good touch. I got to go see it, I know. One other thing I want to mention before I let you go. If you're a Barry Manilow fan, you're going to have an opportunity to hear some Barry Manilow music, aren't you?
Yes, Barry Manilow sings the song under the main title for us. It's called Ready to Take a Chance Again. And we were really thrilled that Barry was able to do this, because he's never appeared in a movie before. And getting him to sing this original song by Charlie Fox and Norman Gimbel was quite a thrill for us and a tremendous plus for the movie. In addition to that, we also have Barry's Copacabana and a little disco where Goldie appears. And that's another plus. Having Barry Manilow on your team is the tops.
No kidding. Wow. I got another line I should take here before I let you go, and then we'll wrap things up. I hope people patiently waited here. Yeah, maybe they gave up on me here before I got to them. I get wild with my own questions and sometimes forget to answer the phone, but I can tell we're out of time. Eddie Milkis, well, watch for the show. It's going to open again tomorrow in town at the Eastland Cinemas, and sounds good to me. I'm going to have to take it in myself.
Well, that'd be great, Dan. Hope you enjoy it.
I thank you for calling, and boy, maybe we can do it again sometime. You come up with another winner, all right? Thanks, Eddie.
Okay, good talking to you. Have a nice day.